Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Make sure your phones are silent, please.
Okay. Welcome to our July 1st, 2026 regular council meeting. Brian Reyes is absent tonight, an excused absence, so we will miss him. We can jump to number 2, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. We are first going to start with an Eagle Scout Certificate of Recognition, and I've asked Jim Hunter to join me in recognizing Colton Cook. Jim is an Eagle Scout, so thought it would suit. Yeah, right. Thought it would be good to have him involved. All right.
People look at me and say, "You were a Boy Scout." Yeah, that fits.
Yeah, it does. We know. We see it.
Well, thank you all for coming, and congratulations. Have you had your Court of Honor, or is that scheduled now? Okay, so you need to update your badge there. You've got a Life Scout badge when you should have your Eagle. Okay, so.
Who knew?
Who knew? I would know.
Yes, you would know. That's
and,
fine.
and I'll point it out, too. So,
Right, there you go.
well, anyway, congratulations. It was 1978 when I earned my Silver Eagle. I was very happy to get it. I think you'll find it opens some doors for you. In my case, I'm sure that it helped me get into the Naval Academy, which is what I wanted to do, and I made a career of it. So that's a good thing. You know, you've worked hard and you've earned recognition, and again, it'll open some doors for you. But more importantly, what it does is it puts an obligation on you. Because you are an Eagle Scout, because you are a Scout in general, more is expected of you. I mean, I jokingly said, "Oh, you were a Boy Scout, ha, ha, ha." People tease about that, but really the underlying thing is that if you were a Scout, and if you were especially an Eagle Scout, our citizens have a right to expect more of you from now on, for the rest of your life. When people learn that you're an Eagle Scout, they will hold you in higher esteem, but you need to continue to work hard to make sure that you earn that and represent well both your family, citizens of Garden Ridge, and every other Eagle Scout who's gone before you. So, congratulations.
Congratulations. Going to go around this way. So we have a certificate of recognition. This certificate is presented to Colton Cook on behalf of the Garden Ridge community. We are pleased to congratulate and recognize you for your attainment of the rank of Eagle Scout. Congratulations. You want us in front? Please. We'll never learn. I'm told every time we're going to stand for 7 years. Congratulations, parents. I know it's a lot of work for y'all too.
You probably wouldn't have finished it without support from his parents.
Thank you. Okay, we are on to item number 4, citizen comment period. We have Thomas Klimas. I think you know the rules. State your name and address. And you've
It's
got
on.
2 minutes.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom and Pat Klimas, 9610 Meadow Lou, Garden Ridge, Texas, residents since August of '94. My dog and I were up at Pickle Park about 4 o'clock today. Correction, Paul Davis Park, about 4 o'clock today. And from the distance, it looks great. The lawn's been mowed and everything. The restrooms are clean like they always are. The cook shack and the pavilion attached to the cook shack, the floor, the tables, they're spotless. 2 areas need some work. They may be already in the queue, but if not, please consider them. The hard surfaces should be blown off. All the grass that was cut has accumulated on the hard surfaces. And the main pavilion is a mess. There's food on the floor. The concrete is just looking cruddy. The tables are bad, and I would recommend like a power wash tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to number 5, the consent agenda. These items may be acted upon in a single motion. No separate discussion or action on these items will be held unless requested by a council member. Public comment on these items may be heard during citizen participation. However, that does not mean the item will be considered outside the consent agenda. Anybody want to pull anything from the consent agenda? No? Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve consent agenda?
And a second? Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. On to number 6, staff reports. City manager report. Ryan?
Mike?
Mike? Ryan's mic?
There we go. Thank you, Brian. I mean,
He says you're welcome.
we have one employee anniversary, and that is Officer Rich McMahon, 18 years. Just quick acknowledgements, volunteers, water bills was 8 hours, and the library had over 127 hours for the month of June. City Council have any questions? As you can see in the packet, all of the department reports, updates are in there. If you have any questions, please let me know. Just some general updates. We're working on the bid documents for the trail projects at Paul Davis Park. Hoping to award sometime, if not late August, maybe early September from that standpoint. The gentleman just brought up Paul Davis Park, and I just want to commend Public Works has been out there and utilities working they've painted the backstop, water fountain, bridge, another portion of a pavilion. So they're doing a lot of prep work in anticipation of our 4th of July event on Saturday. So I want to recognize that work, and we'll take a look at the concerns brought up just a while ago. Last month, under Citizens Be Heard, Rod Chamberlain wanted a request for an update on FM 2252 project. We received an update, and I hope I'm not stealing Hank's thunder, but based on the latest schedule update, the project is targeting to be completed later in 2027. Contractor will be starting work at the intersection of FM 3009 and FM 2252, tentatively around the end of the year. And then all these dates are tentative and subject to change at any time. These dates can be pushed back or earlier depending on many factors such as weather. That was the update we received from TxDOT. So I probably cut short the engineer report. So that's all I have, Mayor and Council.
Any questions, council? All good. Then we will move on to 6.2, city engineer project report. Hank?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I did want to make one correction to the report that was in your packet. There, we did have that the Public Works Specification Manual was going to Commissioner review, and it's going to Council review tonight on the agenda item. For the rest of it, my thunder was stolen, and Tech 2052 project update was given by Ryan, so that's all I had, unless you have any questions.
Ryan covered all the good stuff, right? Any questions for Hank? We've got a lot of stuff going on. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Sorry, I felt it was my duty. You had asked to cover citizens to be heard from previous months, so.
Next time, let him have FM 2252, okay? Okay. 7, approvals and authorizations. The following items are for discussion, consideration, and action. 7.1, public hearing and possible action on ordinance number 251-072026, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, authorizing, establishing, and approving a Public Works Specifications Manual, authorizing the city manager to amend the manual, repealing all ordinances to the extent they are in conflict, providing for severability, and declaring an effective date. Ryan?
Mayor and council, I think at this time we have to open the public hearing. Yes.
Mike?
Mayor and council, I think at this time we have to open the public hearing.
Marissa, do I open the public hearing first?
It's really up to you. I think it might be a good thing to give an overview of what this is so the public knows what they're going to give comments on, but that's up to you.
Okay. The Public Works Specification Manual establishes clear, consistent engineering and construction standards for public infrastructure throughout Garden Ridge, provides minimum requirements for street drainage, water, and wastewater systems, driveway, traffic, considerations, and construction plan preparation. It creates a standard process for plan review, inspections, project acceptance, improving efficiency and accountability. And then adoption helps protect the public health, safety, and welfare by promoting reliable, durable, and well-designed infrastructure. It also supports orderly, sustainable growth within both the city and its extraterritorial jurisdiction, ETJ. Overall, adoption provides greater consistency for developers, engineers, staff, and residents while helping protect the city's long-term infrastructure investments. And as a result of updating our subdivision ordinance, this is an appendix in that ordinance for approval. If you have technical questions, I would defer to Stephen or Hank in this situation.
Okay, then we will open the public hearing at 6:13. Any comments? Marissa, were there any written comments?
No, there were no written comments.
Okay. Do I have to wait? Okay, we're going to close the public hearing at 6:13. Okay, any council discussion?
I had one quick question. I know it talks about in here that if there are exceptions for this policy, that they'll be looked at by the city manager and a professional engineer. So I assume there's some kind of, does the appealing party have to pay for all the engineering study that has to be accomplished if there's extensive work that has to be done?
I mean, as far as the permit or application process,
For the engineering review to approve waivers?
I guess it would depend. Hank, would that be on the civil side for a project? Like a development as far as a commercial or residential?
Yeah, so those would be few and far between. Those would be extenuating circumstances like, hey, we have this very unique drainage situation that doesn't quite fit the standard package. That would still go into review it would be reviewed by the city staff that's appointed to it, whether it be me or somebody else. And that would be covered by engineering fee that the developer would ultimately pay for in most situations. So it wouldn't be on the city to front that cost, no.
Okay, thanks.
I'm just curious how we came up with this manual. Is this a long-term effort or something we borrowed from other municipalities in putting this all together? It looks like a lot of work went into it, so.
This was a 2.5-year-long process that started with Stephen and Sam, I believe, at one point, and has gone through many iterations since.
Just Sam was a prior engineer.
Oh, excuse me, yes.
Yeah, so-
Yes, previous city engineer appointed. So yes, it's been quite lengthy process, and I don't think anything in here has been recreated from nothing. It's usually been pulled from other surrounding municipalities. For example, the driveway spacing is from City of New Braunfels, and it's a pretty reasonable situation to make sure that the driveways line up and don't have awkward left turns hitting each other, that type of thing. So yes, it's been looked over many iterations.
But the first part was getting our subdivision ordinance updated, and now this. And our outside planner from Dan's office, John James, reviewed this as well for us. So,
Should make permitting and code compliance easier.
should be a clear understanding of what the process is and what a developer expects when they're doing work here
Sure.
in Garden Ridge. So.
Any other comments or questions?
No, I'm all for it. I mean, for the sake of consistency and clarity for any future projects, I think we need to do this.
Okay, can I get a motion?
I make a motion to approve ordinance number 251072026 to adopt the Public Works Specifications Manual as presented.
And a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. On to 7.2. Republic Services Annual Rate Adjustment, Ordinance Number 143-07206, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, granting an exclusive municipal materials management agreement between the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, and BFI Waste Services, Texas, LP, DBA Republic Services of San Antonio, a Texas limited partnership for the collection and disposal of solid waste and recycling services, setting forth general specifications, establishing rates for collection and disposal of solid waste and recycling service, providing for enforcement and the collection of established rates, providing a penalty for violations of this ordinance of a fine of not less than $100 nor more than $500, and making each day a separate offense, providing a cumulative and savings clause, providing for severability, and declaring an effective date. Ryan?
Mayor, council, I was just waiting for you to say et al. So, this agenda item updates the city's residential solid waste and recycling rates in accordance with the existing agreement with Republic. The contract provides an annual rate review and allows adjustments based on the Consumer Price Index and applicable service costs. Republic has requested a 4.86% rate increase, which is consistent with the terms of the current contract. The monthly residential solid waste recycling rate will increase from $37.60 to $39.43, an increase of $1.83. The new rate will be reflected in the August 26 utility billing cycle and will begin September 1st, 26. Residents will be notified through the city's utility billing process, and updated rates will be posted on the city's website. Council action is required to amend ordinance number 143 to authorize the updated rate schedule for utility billing. It implements a contractual rate adjustment and ensures the city remains in compliance with its agreement with Republic Services. Just like last year, this same thing was done for a CPI rate adjustment. They are now requesting this the same as we did last year. I don't have the year-to-year change. Robin does. If you want to know exactly from last year to this year, or the previous year from last year to this year, what that looks like, Robin has those numbers as well.
Any council discussion? I see your face, Kelly. I see you.
I am kind of curious, what's the increase from last year? What was last year's rate?
Last year it was around four, I think it might have been 4.6 something last year. I don't actually have those numbers right in front of me, but I can pull them out.
So the rate increases are built into the contract. It's a minimum of 4%, or, the CPI. So it is built into it. So every year we have to deal with this. So I'm just waiting on
I
you,
mean,
Kelly.
there's nothing I can say. We're locked in, so there's really nothing we can do. This is just a formality. So, I mean, there's really
Right.
nothing we can do about it, so.
Right.
I mean,
I think some
you
of
know,
us.
I don't like it. I mean, but-
Right, right. I'm not sure all of us are happy with how we came to this contract. I've gone back and looked at the council meetings in regards to this whole process, and the previous city manager, introduced this saying that Republic wanted a 7-year contract. And at one point, at another council meeting, Kelly had asked if we had spoken with anybody else, if we had gone out for a request for proposals. And the answer was that we had not, because we were not looking for automated services, and anybody that had contacted them was offering automated services. So at that time, the mayor was suggesting that we continue with the backload versus the automated side load. But what we ended up getting was actually automated services. So there's a little bit of,
It was supposed to be phased out after a couple of years.
I'm sorry?
Remember, it was supposed to be phased out after a couple
Well,
of
we
years.
went straight to it.
And we went
straight to
it.
automated. Yeah, the idea was that we were gonna slowly
Right.
roll
No
this out.
shock and awe, right?
Right, and
Yeah.
we just said, no, rip the Band-Aid off, we'll just do this. So there was some, I think, confusion in the process, and I think some of us are upset that we're locked in for 10 years. I mean, Ryan and I have talked several times about going back to Republic and pleading our case a little bit, if that's something that the council would like us to look into, as well as gathering these kind of contracts from other cities to see what the norm is. I think we skipped some of that process in making this decision. We've got, yes, Robin.
So in 2025, it was a 4.79% increase, and in 2024, it was a 5.39% increase.
So any comments, discussion? You think this is something that we should try and revisit? I don't know either.
I think what's on the agenda is, approving the CIP. If you wanted a discussion about revisiting, we'd have to bring it back for an agenda item.
Okay. Well, then, any council discussion? None? Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve the Public Services annual rate adjustment and related amendment to ordinance number 143.
And a second? Second. Any further discussion? Okay, let's bring it to a vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None opposed? The ayes have it. So on to 7.3, Old Nacogdoches Road Feasibility Study. Ryan?
Mayor and council, this is a result, and I'll just go back in 2025. We identified the city-owned portion of Old Nacogdoches Road as one of the city's poorest performing roadways based on its pavement condition index. If you recall, we had all the cities rated 0 to 100, and that particular street is in real bad shape, and I think had a PCI 0 to 100 of about 21, I believe, something like that. So at that point, we looked at options on the road, working with Hank and Tri-Hydro to conduct a feasibility study, which included preliminary construction costs. The study consisted of a traffic analysis using TxDOT data and conservative assumptions due to the significant number of heavy operating trucks related to the quarry using the roadway. Based on the project traffic, the roadway is expected to experience approximately 4 million what they call equal single axle loads, ESALs, over a 20-year design life, requiring much more what we'd say robust pavement structure, if you can, than a typical residential street. There was a geotechnical investigation done that evaluated the existing pavement and subsurface conditions, After reviewing the pavement conditions, the traffic demands, and subsurface data, Tri-Hydro recommended full pavement reconstruction as the most appropriate long-term solution. There was an option for 2 flexible pavement reconstruction. Evaluated, both met the 20-year design criteria. Today's estimated construction cost, if you look in the packet, it's option 1 is a lower cost. So I think it's about 2.6 million. However, you know, the option 2 has to do with, I think it's a crushed limestone option and going deeper on the type B. But that would be about 2.9 million from that standpoint. The full construction represents the best long-term investment for the roadway given the heavy truck traffic associated with the nearby quarry operations. This feasibility study provides a technical foundation needed to move the project into design phase, where final engineering and construction documents will be developed if that were the case. Right now, you know, the city doesn't have 2.6 million for reconstruction. So the question is, what are the alternatives we could do in this case? More than likely, for 2.6 million, if the city had to fund the entire project, we would be borrowing and incurring debt for the reconstruction of the project. There is a discussion, like we had last night, with the quarry, particularly one quarry, but the idea is maybe talking to other quarry operators to kind of partner, maybe materials, kind of an in-kind, to reduce that cost overall. Now, if there was no truck traffic at all, the recommendation would be to do some type of mill and overlay at a more at a less cost, probably $400,000 or $500,000 to the city, which is a little more, you know, sustainable for the city funds to be able to do at some point. But right now, as indicated, the road's in pretty bad shape. If you have technical questions, I defer to Hank and his thoughts as well. What can be done? I know the mayor has a few things because we've met on a couple occasions with one quarry operator about the use of the road for the truck traffic, and then what that does if, you know, at some point that truck traffic may not be available to use that road, what happens in this instance. So there are some options in this case, so.
Hank, you had something you wanted to add?
I guess just a few points. You know, we originally went into this thinking, well, what are some options for if we, or can we look into costs for overlay, mill and overlay, and reconstruction? And then after the geotech got back with us, they're going, those mill and overlay for a 20-year design life just is not going to be possible with the level of loading there. So they just flat out rejected that as a recommendation option if you want to get a 20-year design life. And so if, you know, to today's loadings, if you were to go with, say, a mill and overlay, you may get 5 years out of it or 3 years. It's something that we'd have to look back at and see what we really think you could get out of it as far as years go. But that's how that, you know, that calculation goes basically. As far as the, you know, the overlay and mill and overlay options, we did do, we did a analysis last year on Bat Cave that was similar length of road, where we presented options, overlay versus mill and overlay versus road reconstruction. And the costs were kind of similar to this. This is a little more at 2.6, and Bat Cave was at 2.1 million, I think, for the full reconstruction. So that mill, and if we were to do a mill and overlay, referencing those numbers and inflated a little bit for the condition of this road, it'd probably be more like 600,000 to 700,000. Just wanted to make that clarification. An overlay could be around, just a flat overlay, no milling, could be around $500,000, maybe a little under. So just those are some numbers just based on something we did last year.
Okay, I wanted to add a little history here. So the city has been discussing with the Heidelberg Quarry for many years, probably at least 10 to my knowledge, certainly the 7 years that I have been on council, about collaborating on fixing this road. This road, we have not, you know, kept up with the road, partly because of the expense, you know, and because that the general thought is, hey, the trucks are destroying this road, not our citizens, not our passenger vehicles. So we took this next, with Ryan's help, we took this, and Hank, we took this one step further and had the feasibility study done. So we had something concrete, no pun intended, to work off of. And we presented that study to the quarry in a recent meeting with them. As they said that they would be willing to help. They indicated that their use of Old Naco Road, I mean, can we pull up that map so people know what we're talking about? So it's from that quarry entrance to the asphalt batch plant. You see it up there. That's within the city limits. So they felt as if their usage of the road was minimal. They said 5 to 6% was what they estimated their usage of that particular road was. So that brought forward something that we had in place in the past, which is no through truck traffic right there. We had it up until about 5 or 6 years ago. And if we reestablish that no through truck traffic, according to Heidelberg, we're not going to be impeding their business because they don't use that road. If we did no through truck traffic there, that would prevent all of the industry, the other aggregate operators from coming through the city right there. That would be Anderson Columbia, Asphalt Inc. There's a couple concrete batch plants out there, everything off of Coyote Run. Heidelberg's statement really was that they believed that traffic was coming from Anderson Columbia. So if we did that, and again, we don't have the $2 to $3 million it would take to reconstruct that road to the level to support the anticipated truck traffic. So if we did the no through truck traffic, we could do a mill and overlay. We could do a cheaper option, knowing that it's not going to be impacted by the heavy trucks and that it would just be open to passenger vehicles. So there's a few other caveats in here. As far as this road goes, we've had conversations with Comal County about some help on this road. We also, it's an aside, but it's related. We did have Texas Highway Patrol increase enforcement last week around here, and they're coming up with a report to share with us. But, I did talk about the truck traffic on 3009 and 2252. There were several people that noted that that troopers were pulling these trucks over. I did speak with the captain afterwards, and his idea is that we get together with Comal County, Guadalupe County, Schertz, Bulverde to talk about the overall truck traffic and enforcement. Because if we did a no through truck traffic, again, it doesn't mean much if we're not enforcing it. So, there's a few factors to weigh in here, and I don't think we're ready for a decision tonight, Ryan.
I don't think so at this time. I just wanted to lay out options for council.
Right.
Because, again, we don't have 2.6 million at a minimum available to reconstruct the road, which is what is recommended by the engineers at this case.
And again, I will say that the quarry has offered to help and has offered to set up collaborations with these other aggregate operators. My sense is there's probably going to be a general unwillingness, to contribute. And it would take, I can't imagine it not taking 2 years to put something like this together and to get it moving forward. So I am, personally, hesitant to run down that particular path.
And I don't know, Hank might have the breakdown, but even if you got that collaboration with those partners, how much is each one going to put in? Say that it was like an in-kind where the materials were given, right? And the cost of materials in that 2.6 is probably $900,000, maybe $1 million alone of just materials within that project that would be kind of worked on how that would be broken down by each operator.
question is, is there a loss to the city and the constituents if we don't have that through traffic coming through the city?
Passenger vehicles can still come through the city. It's a benefit to the city not to have truck traffic coming down 2252.
Right.
You know, it would still, Heidelberg could still turn right, although they say that they have directed their contract drivers to go down that 2252 spur to 482. Guadalupe Ready Mix could still turn right, but it would limit all of the traffic coming from that Coyote Run area.
My only concern would be the school, the middle school. So if they cannot come down that road, is it gonna force more down right in front of the middle school? Where you've got, and that's the thing, they run the exact same times as school, people trying to get their kids to school, right? So that would be one concern of mine. You know, with the no truck, you know, no through truck traffic. I wish there was a way to figure that out, if that's gonna be their next, or do they go down to 35 instead?
Yeah,
But-
I mapped the different options at one point, and to have them go down that, you know, the 482, go down Old Naco and around to 482, past Hubertus, because they won't, I mean, again, the school zone hours right there are really long and the speed limits are low. And truckers, they want to get places fast, right? Speed is of an essence with these guys. They get paid on loads. That would be the longest route. There was some discussion about the shortest route for those guys would be Schwab Road, but Schwab may or may not, I haven't figured it out quite yet. It may have its own no through truck traffic put on there by Schertz or Guadalupe County. And what's kind of news to me is that the counties can also do no through truck traffic. So maybe there's the opportunity to work with Comal County on diverting truck traffic, you know, by the school. There's just lots of factors in here that we need to consider and need to get more information on. I mean, we don't want any kind of unintended consequences where we're, you know, increasing traffic in one area where we definitely don't want it.
And I mean, you know, I'm not a surveyor by any means, but just my very few travels I've taken through on that road, and it's usually when there's a train, right, and you're trying to get to the middle school, so you proceed on, you know, down to Old Naco. It's 95% truck traffic. I mean, that's maybe more. So you only see the cars flying through there, and you know, cars and our automobiles, you know, coming through there when there's a train sitting on the tracks during school hours or during, you know, rush hour.
Anyone else? More council comments or discussion?
Unless I'm mistaken, there is some bit of imperative to go ahead and address it, because we did have a lawsuit a while back, did we not? Somebody on a motorcycle or a car sued because they didn't feel the road was properly maintained. We settled out of court. You know, it wasn't a huge deal, but that sort of thing is likely to continue, you know, lacking some sort of additional improvement. So can't be inactive for another 10 years, I guess is what I'm saying.
No, we can't be inactive.
It looks like somebody already, I guess it's not too long ago, east of our city-owned area, someone else has already, I mean, that was recently, not too recently, 3-4 years ago, it was remodeled, right, or redone? Do we know what load they put on that? And was it Comal County, or?
I think you're talking about the Comal County. Yeah,
I
Hank's
am talking
nodding,
about that
yes.
section.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that loaded to the same as what you said?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Comal County just did an overlay over there. I don't have the exact road section that they went through, but they did not do a full road reconstruction. They did some improvements on some of the low water crossing areas, I believe, but that's all through just a conversation I had with their road department, through their road department director. I don't have any plans from them on that specifically.
And do we know if they did a traffic study or anything when they did that, to see who and what was using it?
Not that I'm aware of, but I could get some more information on that if it's something of interest.
I don't know, do we think it'd be worthwhile?
Sure, more information we've got, the better decisions we can make. Anything else? So I guess we just can table this for next time?
Yeah, this, obviously the intent was to give council the information they need, more of an update, and we could always bring this back for any action or discussion of further options with action by council at a future agenda, on a future agenda.
Okay, then we will move on to 7.4, library expansion fundraising efforts. Ryan?
Mayor and council, here we have on the agenda library expansion fundraising efforts. And so as you all know, Ms. Linda provided a bullet point of, which was sort of information about working towards the expansion of the current library. I believe that some of the things she had documented on there are provided to you all that would meet current, future, and needs of the Garden Ridge's growing community while enhancing this asset. She called it a vision is to create a modern third space, welcoming place beyond home, work, where residents can learn, connect, collaborate, and participate in community activities. In the packet there was an engineer who did sort of a preliminary feasibility of what conceptually might look like, what the cost may be, and from design to construction at 1.2 million. And then the discussion has been funding expected to come primarily through, community fundraiser, private donations, possibly grants, residents' commitment to fund majority of the building costs, minimizing the impact on city finances, because as we've discussed, we've got about 6 or 7 projects and we have about $1.2 million, $1.3 million to work with. So there could be a portion of that used in conjunction with money raised privately from that standpoint. As indicated by Ms. Linda's handout there, the demand for library since continues to grow with popular programs such as the preschool story time, Lego robotics, lunch and learn, and chair yoga. If possible, the expansion will provide additional programming space, quiet study areas, enhanced technology resources, flexible meeting rooms for community organizations and public use. At this point, this would be a public-private partnership, and council support will allow the project to move forward while leveraging significant private investment to improve a city facility. At this point, Linda, if you wanted to say a few words to council, or you had any, about the project and your request to city council. Go ahead, Linda.
Okay. Well, I did put a letter along with my report, and it didn't get to you until this morning, so I'm sure a lot of you haven't had a chance to read it. So with your indulgence, it won't take but a couple of minutes. Honorable Mayor and members of City Council, every day city leaders are called upon to address urgent matters. Roads need repairs, utilities need maintenance, public safety demands attention. These needs are immediate, visible, and often unavoidable. Yet history teaches us that the strongest communities are built not only by responding to what is urgent, but by investing in what is important. Our library stands as one of the most important institutions of our city. It is a place where children discover the joy of reading, students complete assignments, job seekers gain access to technology, entrepreneurs research new opportunities, and lifelong learners continue their education. It serves residents of every age, every income level, and background. Remember, we have moved from being a transactional to a relational focus. You don't just come in, check out a book, and leave. We have many activities for all ages. We're not academia, we're more than just books. Today, our library has reached a point where its facilities can no longer fully meet the growing needs of our community. An addition is not a luxury, it's a strategic investment in education, economic development, literacy, and community engagement. The urgent issues facing our city today will eventually pass. The decision you make regarding our library, however, will shape our community for generations. When future residents look back on this moment, they will not remember every pothole repaired or every short-term challenge addressed. They will remember whether we had the vision to invest in the institutions that strengthened minds, expanded opportunities, and improved quality of life. Therefore, I respectfully ask the City Council to approve the proposed library addition, commit a significant financial contribution towards completion, and demonstrate to our citizens that this city values long-term community enrichment alongside immediate municipal needs. A library addition is not merely a construction project. It is a statement about who we are and what we believe. It says that education matters. It says that opportunity matters. It says that our children, families, seniors, and future generations matter. The urgent will always compete for attention. The important requires vision. I ask you to exercise that vision today and make a lasting investment in our community's future through the expansion of our library. So I thank you for your consideration and for your service to our city. Respectfully submitted.
All right. Thank you, Linda. Again, as I mentioned, in the back of the packet is the feasibility done by an engineer that did sort of at a minimal cost, a preliminary look at this, and it's, like I said, 1.2 million. And you look at design cost, soft costs as we call them, that's anywhere, could be 10% of the project. So, you know, you're talking about 100,000, 110,000 alone to, you know, design, architectural, before even moving towards what would be a bid for a project like this. As we've discussed, obviously the city doesn't have 1.2 million to do this project. And again, it comes down to the priority of funding available right now. And we'll go through the budget process and show that there are other priorities from a standpoint of that funding that need to be addressed. But I think the idea of putting this agenda item on here was that it supports the project, but doesn't give any financial commitment from mayor and council, but allows Linda and the Friends of the Library to move forward to see if they can raise funds separately and maybe come back to city council at some point to say, we raised this much. How do we best partner with the city in this case for this project? So.
That's good. Thank you.
So I enjoy the library, and I'm appreciative of what the library does for our community, and I see that there is growth. My question is do you have a goal for your fundraising deadline? So if you're telling us that the cost is 1.2 million, do you have a goal to reach 580,000 by X, Y, and Z time, so that we have the ability to say, well, let's relook this at that council during that time to see where we are and where our priorities are, and then raise it to see what is considered significant from the city? Do you guys have a goal like that in mind?
Well, we don't have a hard and fast date, but we'd like to have about 6 months to see what we can raise. Ideally by next January, which gives us even more months to raise at least that much money.
So I just want to make sure that I and the rest of the council understand that ask today, the ask from you and the library community is just to say, we understand what you're trying to do, and we would like you guys to bless off on the fundraising. Is that what I asked? We're not asking for a financial contribution today,
We are
just
not.
the okay
We
to
are
raise
not.
money. Okay.
Though a donation would not be amiss.
Yeah,
$100.
as I've indicated
$100,000.
in the recommendation that, you know, city council acknowledge and support the expansion project, obviously, as a community-led initiative, you know, that it be a public-private partnership. And this would not commit a financial, part of any of the project from that standpoint.
Any other council comments?
I mean, I've read through their plan. I mean, I'm for the expansion. I think that, I don't know why we'd want to tie their hands as far as, you know, letting them fundraise on their own. I don't know why we'd want to tie them down, so.
Linda, appreciate all the work that everybody's done, putting all this together and everything. I support the objectives and everything like that. I like all the things that the library does and that they have their big plans for. I think it's super ambitious for a town our size, but it's also great. So I like what y'all are doing. Obviously, there's some financial concerns here that we have to jump off that bridge probably a little bit later, but as far as moving forward with your objectives and supporting the objectives and working with the city staff, friends of the library, whoever else is going to throw in here, I think it's a good idea to see where we can get to.
See
For
what-
sure.
Thank you so much.
Jim Hunter, any comments?
Yeah, I appreciate everything that's been done, and having been to the library, yeah, it's a little tight, and we've kind of exceeded its capacity for the services that it offers the community. It's a big ask, 1.2 million, and especially when you look at the plans and consider that we'd be going from 3,200 square feet to a total of about 8,500 square feet. That's an awfully large addition. I would just encourage Friends of the Library to make sure that they have alternative plans in place. If the best we can do, for example, is say 500 grand in fundraising, that's what we were able to do. Are we able to scale back to what will fit within what we've been able to raise? In other words, the big ask is a 5,000 square foot addition. We didn't quite get the money to do that, but if we could do another 2,000 square feet, I think we could support the mission of the library in what it does for our community. That would be, you know, something that would work. I would just encourage the Friends of the Library to go through with our blessing to pursue fundraising, but realize that Malcolm's very nice drawings and all that may or may not be within what the city can afford and what fundraising ultimately is able to do. But if we have a fallback plan or series of plans to meet the needs of the city and, you know, continue to offer quality services that you do to our citizens, I think that would be a great way to proceed. We may not get the big ask, but if we could get 50, 60% of that, I think we can do justice to our citizens, and that would be worthwhile.
I totally understand. I will say this is my third fallback. Ideally, we would have a big, brand-new building, 15,000 square feet. And then that didn't work out. That's not going to happen. And I've whimpered and begged, let me have the community center. And they pat me on the head and go, don't be silly. So that's a fallback. And I finally looked and said, okay, this is something we could do. But I understand what you're saying.
It just may be that there's a limit to what we can accomplish with fundraising and what the city may or may not be able to, you know, pitch in for capital. But if we have, you know, visions of what we could do with a little less in terms of resources, then I think we could probably make it happen. May not be the big vision that we have right now, which is very nice. But if we can expand what we have and still offer the quality services to the citizens, I would count that as a win.
It's a win.
So what I'm hearing is everybody supports the library. We love the work that you do there. I guess we're asking you to be a little bit flexible as we go along and we learn what money can be raised. And the city cannot commit right now, but as you look at those grants, a lot of them are matching grants. And that would be a good place for, you know, for the city to step in and support those kind of programs. So we're not saying that we're not going to be supportive, but, you know, let's wait and see, you know, what's coming down the line so we can address it as it goes along.
Understood.
Okay.
We've worked under that premise, understanding that.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
I think Mayor and Council, the idea is looking at down the road about, you know, revenue to the city, you know, that we continue with the development efforts, the more sales tax that come in, like we had in the budget workshop, the first one where we talked about revenue. The more sales tax we bring in at some point, the less we can depend on our reserves, which free up other dollars to do projects, right? We're facing a 20-year CIP for water, which is about $1 million a year. We have streets that need to be done because of deferred maintenance. So I know we've talked about this, but there is only so much dollars to share, and it becomes down to a priority from and how we want to move forward with our infrastructure. So.
Anything else? Can I get a motion?
Before we motion, I want to be clear that we are just asking to say yes to fundraising. To let them, yes.
And Linda, what is it that you need to pursue fundraising, grant applications, and all that sort? Do you need a proclamation from City Council that says we support Friends of the Library in their fundraising efforts for potential or future expansion? I mean, or could it be minutes in a City Council? What would be the device needed to pursue grants and that sort of thing?
As far as I know, just knowing that you have said yes, though we do, Ms. Sarah has made a proclamation that we could have in hand to say, yes, you have agreed to let us do that. But we need some kind of statement just to
Right.
say that it's all right. You may raise money.
Well, I think if you're going out and trying to raise money, that could actually be memorialized in minutes, right? That the council acknowledges the project, blesses it, ask them to go forward to raise these private dollars and come back to us, you know, without committing any obligation from a city standpoint right now. That could be it. If there was a grant that she would apply for related to our library, then we would bring it back for a resolution, because most grants require a resolution because we're committing that match. So that would be and show another commitment to how we would try to obtain funds for this project that would show the commitment by the City Council.
So many times when you fill out a grant, they want someone, either the mayor or the city manager, just to sign an agreement that, yes, you have our permission.
I move that we support the Garden Ridge City Library in its fundraising for expansion purposes.
Got to get a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. The ayes have it. Thank you. We move on to 7.5, discussion and possible action on holding a strategic plan workshop.
Mayor and Council, this is something that we had talked about not only when I came here, but when the mayor came into position last year, about putting together some type of workshop with council. We have now waited when Councilman Hunter has come aboard now to have a full council to move forward with doing some type of workshop related to establishing a strategic plan. And so this would, you know, provide a long-term roadmap for us. It would outline sort of all the priorities related to infrastructure, public safety, finance, those kind of things. The idea to have this retreat to set up what would be the framework of the strategic plan would involve having, almost like a retreat type, few hours, either like a Saturday or an earlier afternoon type workshop that would be facilitated by clear career professionals, which is some retired city managers who have done this. Work through these, work through the session and give that opportunity to discuss, the purpose and value of putting together that strategic plan. It's majority of most cities have a strategic plan in place, and it'd be helpful if we had one moving forward. Especially next year as we go through the budget process, that strategic plan is pretty much gonna drive the budget next year, because it's gonna outline the priorities that are put together as a result of this workshop. So it's a matter of finding out if Council A wants to do this, and then figuring out what best works for each individual council member as far as dates, times, to bring them in to help us. If y'all wish it was a Saturday, I've been involved before where it's Saturday from, a 10 to 2 and there's lunch and they go through the whole process, or one that starts at 3 o'clock-ish and it goes till about 8 o'clock one night. So it's typically, and more than likely, we'd probably do it up at the community center versus the council chambers. We do have to open it up to the public from that standpoint, but it's a matter of trying to figure out when y'all would be available to do this. Mayor, I know you had some points on it.
I definitely think this is something that we need to do. Again, I've been on council for 7 years and have never sat with the other council members to talk about what the vision for the city is. And that vision really needs to drive our budget and the actions we take and the future we're planning. So I think this is a valuable exercise for us to go through together.
I agree. I think it helps to set the city up for future success in a various different ways.
Yeah, it guides the budgeting process in the future by outlining for ourselves, but more importantly, the citizens, what our priorities are. So things like the library can be written into a strategic plan that we can take action on in the subsequent budget process. I would think it's
Yeah.
valuable.
Most cities have it like tenants laid out to public infrastructure, finance, quality of life projects, parks. So what are those priorities within there? And that drives where you put those dollars in the next year's budget. I just think we need something that you can either update it year to year, or you can do like a 5-year plan from that standpoint. So, and it also gives a guide to council members as they change. Every couple of years, it might be a new council member. At least they know sort of the priorities and the vision of the city through a document. So.
Any comments over here on this side?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, any successful organization, you have a strategic plan in place and you know your direction and you've been here 7 years and what do we know when the last time we had one was? I've never seen a strategic plan.
I've never seen a written strategic plan. Marissa, you've been here.
The only thing that I've seen is the strategic marketing plan.
Yep.
That
No.
we did,
Mhm.
but no, not overall strategic plan.
My only question is, okay, so $3,300 for the session, correct? By the way, that's a steal, guys. That's very inexpensive. So that's why I was wondering, I was like, okay, what are we getting for this $3,300? Because that's not very much for a strategic session. Part of that direction, I mean, the EDC is thrown in there a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you start looking at what are those priorities, right?
Mhm.
And that may be the city eventually wants to establish an EDC once we have sales tax. And then if we have an EDC, that's gonna drive other projects. But yes, one of the strategic plans could be, in the future, establishing an EDC. And that's a goal for the city to obtain, which is attainable sooner than later, once we get some development and sales tax coming in.
Right. So do we get a written plan at the end of this? I just saw in the notes here hosting, but I didn't see a,
Yeah, so they'll go through the whole process and help us work up what would actually be the plan moving forward as a result of having this session with them.
yeah. I'm just making sure, because like I said, that price, that's a very inexpensive cost
Yeah.
for a strategic planning session. So I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't more just a brainstorming session, but we don't have anything in written form. So, because it needs to be a roadmap for the city, right?
Yeah.
And, I mean, we're long overdue. I don't know why we've never had one. And in talking with other cities, I know Cibolo does one every 3 years. Schertz does one every year. I looked at Bull Verde. I couldn't get I don't know when the last time they had one was, but I know Castle Hills, how often did you guys have those there? Every year?
No, this was, when I first got there, we had one. But when my previous cities like Del Rio, we had one, and College Station, we had one early on, a long time ago. I won't date myself, but yeah, those were early strategic plans for cities.
Right. Yeah.
So-
So going back to, I'm all for it. I mean, it's a no-brainer. We need to do it. But I think when we do that, we need to set forth how often we're going to have these and set a precedent for future council members, so it doesn't go by the wayside, or future city managers, so it doesn't go by the wayside, then you don't have a strategic plan for 20 years.
Yeah,
So-
as it indicated there, the ultimate goal for the session is, has a clear vision how to proceed, develop a workable plan for those next steps, and then understands the importance of having a strategic plan versus it just sitting on the shelf. So, and, last year, through Robin's efforts, as you can see, the way the budget was developed last year, the actual document itself, we submitted to GFOA to see if we can actually get an award. They came back and said, no, you have some areas for improvement. And one of those was you didn't have strategic plan items that drives your budget process. So a real good city is to look at the city of Fair Oaks, right? They have a strategic plan, and the budget priorities are laid out in the document. And so those are the kind of things they look at when they score and rank for a GFOA award. So, and again, that's just something internally from a finance standpoint that the city, we want to see happen. A goal of mine, a goal of Robin, and a goal of the city is to get an award like that, because it's unique, it's distinct. It shows that you have clear understanding of how you develop your financial plan for the city. But we did get dinged on not having strategic elements that drive budgetary priorities.
Right, and every time we're making decisions on something as a council, we can refer back to that. Does it fall under our strategic plan?
Basically, it's your roadmap. But again, it's a matter of trying to figure out when we could do this, what works best for each council member. Ideally, I've been through these at other cities, and it's just on a Saturday, 10 to 2, something like that, 9 to 1.
Anybody have any preferences? I can make time on a Saturday.
Well, it depends on what time of the year, Saturday. So, me
He's
personally, I have a lot of
thinking
kids' track
sports
meets and
teams, yes.
sports stuff Saturday mornings, so.
Outside of college football, you mean, just,
Well, that's at noon, so we gotta be out of there by noon. No,
So-
cross-country meet in the morning, then noon, football, no. But, how soon could we do this, do you think?
I would probably like to have something done in at least the next few months. We start developing this plan, we have it in place, we have it adopted ultimately by the end of the year or January, that gives us a plan moving forward as we start the budget process next year. And they could be pretty simple. I've been involved in a strategic plan that was 2 pages that outlined what the year's goals were. Again, you start talking about how much you want to layer that in. what's the priority, public safety, finance, infrastructure, and you just lay out the goals of those. So it could be pretty simple. I mean, I reference City of Fair Oaks because they have a pretty good strategic plan in place. And they're a similar size city, so.
Well, I guess we should act on accepting that or approving doing a budget workshop, and then we can work on finding available dates.
And make a motion that council approve a strategic planning workshop, date to be determined based on collective council member availability.
Can I get a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed? The ayes have it. Thank
So
you.
I think the best thing to do is I could put down like 3 different dates that include a Saturday or a weekday, and wherever I get the most yes from, we can move forward with. But ideally, probably a Saturday in that instance, so.
Sounds good. Let's move on to 7.6, the budget workshop. Ryan?
Mayor, Council, this would be the 3rd budget workshop. What I'm just going to really cover and kind of go through it pretty quickly is just focusing on general fund and water fund. I've added to the slide, or Robin did, funded requests and then not funded from that standpoint. Really just focus on where we're at as a total expenditure and revenue right now in the general fund and what the transfer would be just for the CIP projects itself. So if you look at you have the general fund overview, the water fund, capital improvements, and then the meeting schedule, and then, of course, questions if you have any. General fund overview. So we made some changes. If you recall, last time I showed you this, we were on the positive side about 32,000 revenue over expenditures. Based on the requests and some other tweaking, I think we're now around 17,000 on the positive side, Robin. And so if you look at it right now, it gives us it gives you a total expenditure of $5,461,000. But again, $1,185,000 is the transfer in from the capital projects, and then about 4.2 for revenue. Still ending fund balance 4.1. And then the 9-month reserve. And again, talking about other projects and having other revenue available to do those projects is that difference between keeping it at 9 versus like a 6-month revenue. 6-month expenditure funds related to our reserves, because most cities have about 6 months. So if we were to get in additional sales dollars to offset the additional funds that come in through ad valorem, that would help bring down that reserve to about 6 months, free up some dollars to do other projects. But right now, as I mentioned in previous meetings, we want to keep it at 9 months. Administrative, again, this is the same as I showed you last time. We were looking at, in the admin, looking at a few positions for the COLA plus 2% from that standpoint. In evaluating positions and trying to stay competitive and retaining employees. That's what we're looking at for 4 positions there right now in administration. And the line item there for engineering, we have it coming back just a little bit above last year's at about 80,000 for engineering. And then consultant professional services, we've gone up a little bit. The code enforcement with Selma, I've discussed that with you in my city manager report, but it's going to their city council next month, and then it'll be on our agenda for August 1st to utilize their code enforcement officer to do about 30%. It's roughly, we'll pay 30% of his salary to come in and do code enforcement about 10 to 12 hours a week here in Garden Ridge. Here is just other areas of increasing costs of election. And then unfunded, we don't have any right now in administration. And then 3%, as I mentioned, 2% for those 4 other additional positions. There's some additional dollars you put for finalizing the codification. And then office modifications, we're gonna be looking at putting maybe one office into 2 offices there. And then if you recall, audio video improvements, I think Brian had requested that at the last meeting. And so we put in some dollars, which will probably be through PEG, to look at how we can improve some other features related to audio video in the chambers. Court remains the same. And then in police department here, nothing changes in the police department. It's pretty straightforward, down to the 1.9 million budget. And then purchase of a new patrol unit, general fund capital, 70,000. Purchase of half the cost of new unmarked PD unit, 25,000. The other portion would come in from asset forfeiture fund from the chief. Correct, chief?
Correct.
Correct. And then he still doesn't have money for his parking lot cover, so we'll work through that. So, Public Works Department, again, we don't have anything changing here to a certain degree. I'll go down to here. So we have 3% COLA, Public Works facility enhancements about 60,000, street improvements about 100,000. We have unfunded right now is permanent exterior LED lights for City Hall, Library, and Community Center. That would consist of having lights that we could use seasonally. Instead of putting up Christmas lights, these lights would be there. We change the colors. It could be used throughout the year. Right now, we are working on a cost, Stephen, to find that out, but right now we have it as unfunded, but it is a request. So I have to provide that to you from that standpoint. Another factor is we will be doing some modifications related to the Public Works Department and utilities. I'll probably get more into detail with that in my proposed budget when I file it. And I just bring it up to you because it does change a little bit on the salary side for employees in Public Works. But been working with Stephen and Robin on doing some modifications to the Public Works Department / Utilities Department. And so I hope to roll that out later for y'all's review. Community Center, everything here remains the same. We're replacing the second HVAC at 20,000. We just replaced the other one about a month ago. And then right now we have a request for 6,000 for a floor scrubber. And then to move the ice maker from where to where? To the kitchen? From the barbecue area. Okay, yeah, so it's $6,000 for that work to be done. Library, again, nothing changed here from salary and line items. And then, as I mentioned in the last one, we had already plugged in the request made by Ms. Linda here for library materials, increase in special events by $500. Capital here, I've listed, everything here from what we will do and from a capital side, from outfitting the PD unit at 70K, street improvements, the HVAC and community center there, the Vista Ridge interconnect, and then the sewer interconnect. That's with getting the agreement done for sewer with Schertz, and then tying in across the railroad track, that $350,000. So overall, this is the general fund, just a recap here, showing the 4.1 is the ending fund balance here. Any questions so far? Water fund overview, it's kind of the same. Not too many modifications from last time y'all seen this, but obviously over and under, we're on the positive side, the 192,000. Ending fund balance to 10 million, and then a 10-month reserve for the water. Again, some of those are going to be used because we're going to have to start some of the CIP projects that are outlined in the first year of the water CIP. Here, ongoing projects from the CIP, engineering, COLA 3%. Lawnmower, handheld radios, continuous chlorine monitor for municipal well sites. That was plugged in. I think we had that show as unfunded last time, and now we plugged it in. Yeah. So here we had a couple of these items that were not plugged in originally under the unfunded, but we plugged them in now. From that standpoint, we have 2 handheld radios, and then the sewer interconnect projects with shirts, and then the Vista Ridge tie-in at about $560. Let's see. Again, here's an overview showing the fund for water, and then at 10 months reserve. Here is what I showed last time. Nothing has changed out of here. This is the capital improvements fund revenues. This is where I discussed using a portion of the money that's in there that could be used for the sewer interconnect. That's restricted but can be used for the sewer interconnect, which would free up some of those extra dollars in the reserve towards other projects. Correct, Robin? And then as we move forward, I'll file the budget on July 30th. And then August 5th, I'll present the budget that's been filed. We'll discuss the tax rate. And then Wednesday, August 26th, we'll have a budget public hearing. September 2nd, tax rate hearing, ratify the budget, take a record vote, and then adoption of the tax rate and budget. And then y'all will be done for the year. Questions?
Cycling back to the general fund, just a question. What is the uncollected receivables and payables? It's $824,351. It's the same number every year. What does that account for?
So the general fund loaned the water fund money for the.
Vista Ridge.
No, this was for the sewer, the sewer connect that was originally done. And that is something that they had said, we're gonna pay this back when we get customers. And then water will start paying that back to the general fund as a receivable. And since we have no customers, it has been sitting there.
But it is eligible to use for the interconnect, for the sewer, right?
That's money that's already been spent.
Okay.
And it's owed back by water to the general fund, unless council decided that we just wanted to do it as a transfer and that water didn't need to owe it back. They can make that decision to do that. But from everything from prior council and prior city manager was the water fund was supposed to pay that back to
That
general
was the
fund.
previous attempt at a sewer line along 2252. The one that
Correct.
was insufficient
There's a
diameter.
building with a pump.
Collection tank at 2250, Nago Loop at the corner. But yeah, nothing's been hooked up to it. It's kind of been just sitting there empty.
So any other council, any other questions? And again, looking at the water, and you started talking about the water CIP, that's some of the projects we're gonna be looking at the first year to see where we could possibly plug those in or start some of those projects at least during this budget process, so.
So can we go through the reserves and reserve usage real quick, just because it's a little muddled in my brain right now?
Which one?
Both of them. We'll
Okay.
get there, yeah. So for the general fund, we're pulling money out of the reserves, and where was that going to?
As far as like the transfer being the 1,185,000?
Exactly, yep, that.
Yeah, so, I was trying to figure out which slide.
Was
Right
that going
there.
to the Vista Ridge and some of these other projects? Is
Yeah,
that where
it's
was
listed
going?
right there, 1.185.
Oh,
That's that total.
yeah, I get that. Where is it? Okay,
That's reducing our reserves down from 13 to 9, correct? Yes.
Okay, and you mentioned the water reserves also. Did you mention reducing that?
Well, yeah, so it's been at 6 months before, it's at 10 months, so you could reduce it to 6 months and use 4 months towards projects to start the CIP, essentially.
Okay. I know they had a discussion about that at the last Water Commission meeting, but talk about that some other time. So the only point I want to bring up about this is that we've talked about all these infrastructure plans and these CIP plans, and there's a lot of bills coming, so we're pulling from the reserves this year, but that's pretty much the last opportunity we're going to be able to do that, and we're going to need a different plan for the following year. Am I reading this correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
And so again, you start talking about why we want to keep it about 9 months right now. So hopefully we see that development come in, other dollars come in through sales tax that help support the total revenue for the city.
Yep, I understand that. That's exactly what we did for the sewer fund before, right? Hasn't quite worked out for us yet, so we need a backup plan off ramps. Okay.
Sir, I hope this comes to fruition, so, because we're going to have to look at that sewer line to support this development too. And
I'll
that'll
just
be
point
a-
out that
that'll
there's
be a
risk
future
here,
discussion.
and we're going to have to pay these bills
Yeah.
in the future. We're sort of just pushing things off for a year in the hopes that we get some additional income. It's the only point I wanted to make.
And the alternative is that the city would have to borrow.
Again, I think a strategic plan will help us here, where we can really prioritize and where we want to spend the money and when we want to spend the money and what future planning looks like. Any other questions for Ryan?
Again, I think we'll get into the water, probably put it on the agenda again for July. We're getting the water rate study started, but that'll go into looking at FY '28 and above for 5 years to help us as we move forward to begin that 20-year CIP. So any other questions? I'll file the proposed budget at the end of July, and then we can take this up at the August meeting from that standpoint. So thank Robin for putting it all together, like always. Appreciate it. So.
Thank you, Robin and Ryan. I know it's a lot of work. We appreciate it. So we are on to 8, citizen comment period. We have anybody who would like to make a comment? You know the rules.
I know the rules.
I'm not even going to say them. You know the rules.
Sharon Stripling, 21729 Forest Water Circle. A couple of things related to what y'all discussed today. On the Republic Services Agreement, I know we can't get out of it. It's something that's done, but I really encourage y'all to try to work with them to get them to add an additional, because it's a bitter pill to swallow that we're paying more for less services. And I'm saying that from the standpoint of all of our houses out here have tons of oak trees. You have 100, I had a neighbor that put out 100 bags of leaves on the street and left them there because it's too hard for him to pull them from here to there. He finally called some trash place or somebody to come pick it up to a pretty expensive price. So maybe you could approach Republic to try to get them to work something like that in on an occasion or whatever. And then going back to the paving of the roads, I'm still on the Bat Cave thing. Bat Cave, the county repaved it. It has created a lot of issues for our residents in Forest Waters. They're getting flooded now. The shoulders on the road drop off. And I know that's not y'all, but it's creating problems for residents in Garden Ridge. So I'm encouraging you not to drop that ball to try to remedy that one, because some of them are in fear of when it rains every time what's going to be coming in through their backyard. The third thing is the library. And I agree we don't have the money to put into it, but maybe there are rooms in the community center we could use, but the chair yoga class is excellent. I've been going to it. They have a lot of older residents that go, and it's a huge benefit to our community, and I even would like to see it expanded. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? We will move on to 9, announcements on items of community interest. I wanted to just touch on a couple of things. We had a successful Quarry meeting last night, our study group meeting. We probably had 20 people, maybe more. Hard to say. I should have looked at we had everybody write down their contact information. I should have looked at that before I came. Went a couple of hours, lots of good back and forth between our citizens and the aggregate operators and our monitoring service. I think that we had some questions answered. One of the best things that happened is they provided the map, their mining plan, so where they will be mining in the next 5, 6, 7 years. So we have a screenshot of it. I'll ask for a copy so people can take a look at that. I know there's always lots of questions about what's coming next. You know, I don't like what's coming next. They're probably going to be in the same area for another 3 years, but we are continuing discussions about how we want to minimize those impacts. Trophy Oaks and Regency Oaks are having terrible blasts. But good things came out of there. If you haven't seen it, Garden Ridge Area Coalition for the Environment has put out a survey. They've got about 160 responses now, and we did share that information with the quarry to give them, again, they like numbers, they like science, they like, you know, information that they can work with. So it was an interesting discussion, lots of things to touch on moving forward. Another thing that's going on, Ryan and I were contacted by a woman who is advocating for a more accessible playground. Thank you to Rod Chamberlain. I asked him to take that on and get the information, and he's provided us with a good starting point of things to look at. We do have some kids at the elementary school in particular that would benefit from having, you know, more accessibility at their playground, and there's different ways that we could take a look at that. So that will be ongoing. I think that's all I've got. Anybody else? Oh, 4th of July is Saturday. City's all geared up. And there should be an article in the paper on Friday, Cindy, highlighting the New Braunfels Herald came out and interviewed Cindy and one of our grand marshals. As a reminder, our grand marshals are they were kids, they were the bike riders in the 1974 parade, which was the 1976 parade. They were so they're coming back and they'll be riding on the float. They're having a bit of a reunion, so the Herald will be covering that story on Friday, so keep an eye out for that.
Training wheels are off on most of the bikes.
Training wheels are off. I'm curious to see who rides and who
They're back on now.
who's on the float and who's riding a bike. So that's all I've got.
I just have one update. Marissa's got a picture here, so just want to show you the Tri-County Chamber mural that was painted in Universal City. And so there's our logo on the mural there. So just, that's complete. That mural is actually bigger than that screen, so it's a pretty large mural on the side of the Tri-County Chamber of Commerce office that the city of Universal City helped them get into. So
Looks great.
yeah.
Anyone else? We're good. On to 10, executive session. We're going to pull this item from the agenda as an executive session is not needed currently. So we are on to 12, adjournment. There being no further business, the city council regular meeting is adjourned at 7:34 p.m.